Now, this is an interesting conversation because I'm going to talk about some definitions of words that we banty about quite liberally when we talk about certain things. And as we get into diseases and prodromes and how do we prevent a disease or how do we optimize given biochemical systems with reserve, how do we, search for or reach immortality, we need to know what those words actually mean. Now, of those four words, clearly death is the easiest one to talk about. Death really is the complete loss of function to the point that the human body can no longer exist and survive. And medically, it's really the final loss of oxygen to the brain, and eventually we all die essentially of hypoxia of one way or another. But to get there is a whole bunch of system failures to that point. Now, disease is a more difficult word because it encompasses a lot of different levels of severity. At the face of it, a disease is really like the word says, dis-ease. At some point, the fully operating function of a system is working at less than its natural or its optimal capacity. And that would be the smallest amount of disease. Now, medically, we typically think of a disease where it reaches a point of severity that it affects your daily living. So, Alzheimer's for dementia, Parkinson's, these are diseases that have clear clinical manifestations. They're obvious to the eye. And so really a disease is a heart attack, a broken leg. These are things that are clearly identifiable. But those are more severe cases of disease, which need to be obviously dealt with and fixed. But at the simple biochemical level, a disease is a reduction in function of a particular system. And that reduction of function can have no immediate physiological or symptomatic observation, but yet it's still not optimal. And so that's where disease comes in. Now, vitality is also kind of clearly understood in that it's the ability to function normally. And that can be both at the phenotypic or symptomatic level. I can walk normally, I can talk normally, my activities of daily living are normal. I get up in the morning, I can make my bed, I can have conversations. And so these are things that are normal functioning behavior. Now, I can still have relatively normal functioning behavior, but some of the systems within my body are still at disease. So disease and vitality are not mutually exclusive. There can be parts of your life that are in full vitality mode, and there'll be parts of your life that are in serious disease mode. And so diseases and vitality are a mixture. Now, immortality has a lot of bad connotations because it's about living forever. And that's really not accurate, because immortality or longevity is just a matter of how long you're looking into the future. Hopefully, I'm going to be immortal for the next 30 minutes. And that means that I will not die in the next 30 minutes. And so for the next 30 minutes, I'm immortal. And the question we have when we talk about immortality or we talk about longevity is that we're talking about some future date and future circumstance that is not actually knowable today. And so immortality really is the perpetual maintenance of function. if I can maintain my current adult functioning indefinitely, then I'm technically immortal. And so the question becomes in immortality is, where do you start the clock? At day 1, at day 500, and so on. So getting caught up in the semantics of words can be quite damaging because it prevents us from actually having the proper intellectual conversations. And so when you look at the bookends of death and immortality are either you're alive or you're dead. And the bookends of health or disease and vitality is an abnormally functioning system versus a properly functioning system. And the goal, and we'll bring it in subsequent conversations, is whether we're going to focus on the cascade from normality to disease to death versus the cascade from normality to vitality to immortality. And from a scientific perspective, they're equivalent. And that's going to be the purpose of more and more of our conversations as we dig into not only the loss of function associated with the disease, but the maintenance of function associated with vitality. And the really powerful thing is that all of us, or virtually all of us, have experienced vitality. Most adult humans have several years of vitality. So we don't have to discuss or create something that never existed before. It's about maintaining and sustaining a level of function that is already known to exist.